Welcome to Spiritual Psychology. My name's Renee McKenna. I'm a therapist and shamanic healer, and today I want to talk about priorities. Like a lot of us, I'm a busy person with a complicated life. I have kids, I have work, I have some creative projects, I have a house to care for, I have relationship and community. I'm super sensitive and tapped into the needs of others and to the needs of my responsibilities. And deciding how to spend my time is really important for me to not get overwhelmed and to actually feel productive and good about what I'm doing on a daily basis. And I want to share with you some really practical tools that I use to be able to organize my priorities so that I can actually use my executive function and act like the executive director of my own life. Because we are the executive directors of our life. And if we're not, we might want to ask who is. We really do have free will. Certainly there's influences of family and culture and work, money. We're all affected and impacted and influenced by those things. But we always have a choice. Realizing how much of a choice we have in how we spend our time and what our priorities are can really empower us to bring our daily life into more integrity with what's important for us. And integrity for me is when my inspiration and my ideas and how I think about things in my head align with my heart and how I feel, with my desires and what's important to me, and also with my actions and how I'm spending my time and my resources and putting my energy. I almost see that like the chakras, my head and my heart and my hips, my thinking, my feeling, and my body-centered action. When those are in alignment, I feel good. I can know that the actions that I'm taking and the way I'm moving through the world is intentional and conscious and a choice. And that feels really good. And the good news is I can change those choices and my actions and how I spend my resources anytime I want. That's our free will. We may or may not be comfortable with that level of self-responsibility, and that may be some of our work. But we are responsible for our own life and the quality and circumstances of it. And clarifying what's important to me can help me set my priorities of how I spend my time and my resources and where I put my energy. And those choices really impact the quality of my life. And I've found that my priorities change over time and in different circumstances. In fact, I just did a piece of work with my own business coach this week. I get a lot of help from other people. I have a coach, I have a therapist. Being a verbal processor, it's really helpful for me to talk things out with people. I get clarity when I talk. Writing, journaling, free writing is also really helpful for me. Setting priorities is like going through my closet. It can be helpful to just pull everything out, go through the whole thing. What do I wear? What do I don't wear? What do I like? What do I don't like? What doesn't fit anymore? And what's totally out of style? And I can think about my life process that way. It's like a sorting, clearing, keeping, donating kind of a process. And I really see so frequently how my house is like a metaphor for my internal life, that my material world is often a mirror for what's happening inside. And it's really helpful to actually go through my closets and clean out my junk drawer every once in a while. Just like it's really helpful to look within myself and sort out my internal mental, emotional junk drawer and clear it up. So the simplest way to do this is to actually just list out all the areas of your life, all the different ways that you spend your time. So my areas are my work, my kids, my intimate relationship, my friendships and social life, my community, my creativity, and exercise. Those are kind of the big ones. I'm also doing a lot of extra work on my house right now, and still working on this book project with Allies and Demons and working on my audiobook with a narrator. So I list all those things down, whether I'm doing it verbally or I like to write it on a piece of paper, and then kind of contemplate what's the most important to me. What am I going to feel the best about spending my time in that area? What wants the most of my time? And where do I want to spend my time? Now, this is where we start to get into questions of integrity. So it's nice to just kind of empty out the closet, dump it all on a piece of paper in no particular order, and then to start to reorder it in my priorities. What's the most important to me? That's the first list. So for me, it's my work, my kids, my intimate relationship, my house, my friends and social life, my exercise, my creativity. That's the priority order for me right now. And that can change because I noticed that work is above my kids. Now, when my kids were little, my kids were first. My intimate relationship was first or second at different times. But right now, my kids are teenagers. In fact, they're moving away from me. They need me less. And I've never really focused on my career in the way that I have the ability to do now. And so that's actually in the priority for me. There's no right or wrong to this at all. This is really individual. Again, what's important to you? Now, for me, staying in integrity means that I actually organize my calendar time. I organize my emotional energy and how much brain space each of these takes up at any given time. And so if my work is my priority right now, then optimally I'm spending the most time during my day or during the week. I tend to like to look at things weekly rather than daily. Because I work for myself, there's a lot of flexibility and each day can look a little different. But do I spend the most of my time doing the thing that is the most priority for me? Intellectually, spiritually, emotionally, and practically, even financially. And this is the principle of putting first things first. But we have to know what's first. If that's imposed upon us and it makes us unhappy, then we have a problem. And I would say we're out of integrity in that there's some lack of alignment between our head and our heart and our actions. So remember, this is your list. It's my list. I can arrange it however I want. The thing that's second on my list, do I spend my time accordingly? Did I spend the second amount of my time caring for my kids? And looking down my list from top to bottom, this is a living document that we can move around at any time and we don't have to be rigid with it. This is not a baseball bat to beat myself up. It's information for me to use in the management of my own life, to be my own general manager. So I have all the areas of my life. I have a list of what's important to me and how I might optimally spend my time. Now, where I've found this incredibly helpful, but then I can make a list perhaps of how I actually spend my time. And someday I'm going to create a worksheet with this. I do this with my clients all the time. It's super helpful. It's very loosely based on some work I did years ago through one of my favorite books, The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People by Stephen Covey. Amazing, life-changing book for me. Anyway, if I get to it, I'll create a worksheet and I'll put a link to it in the show notes. But if I don't, hopefully you can follow along or take what you like and leave the rest. So if I don't feel like I have the ability to manage my time according to what's important to me, it's helpful to look at how I actually spend my time and to see if there's a gap, particularly in the couple top spots on my priorities list. So if the most important thing to me is my family and my health and my spiritual practice or my community, but I spend the most amount of my time working and looking at social media or watching Netflix and talking on the phone with my needy friend who's always in a crisis, then I'm out of integrity. I'm not spending my time according to what's actually important to me. And even the term spending time, we can think of time as a commodity, as money. It's the most valuable thing we have. And we get to choose how we spend it, just like we can choose how we spend our money. And again, if you don't feel like you have that freedom, then there's a problem because you're not the general manager of your own life. And if you're not, who is? And if it's someone else, are they managing you well? Do they have your highest interests in mind? And usually, I know it was for me for a long time, everything's just unconscious and it just is the way that it is and I don't feel like I have anything that I can do about it. And it's not true. It may take work. I may need courage. I may need to rededicate my resources, but we do have that privilege in choosing how we spend our time and where we put our energy and intention. And that's how we make the choices that create our reality and the quality of our life experience. So looking at the areas of our life putting them in priority order of what's important to me and how I would like to spend my time and resources, and then looking at how I actually spend my time and resources and what needs to happen. What changes do I need to make to be in integrity with myself, to be able to make my actions line up with what I want and what I feel and how I think. And when I'm doing what I really want and what feels important to me, I feel good about my day. And when I feel good about my days, I can start to feel good about my life. And I feel good about myself. And I like feeling good. Most people do. So good luck with this. I hope it's helpful. It's certainly helpful for me. So clean out your internal closet. Sort out what fits and what doesn't fit, what you want to keep and what you want to let go of. And come into integrity with yourself. Blessings on your path. Until we meet again, this is Renee LaValle McKenna for Spiritual Psychology.